What's up there, everyone? Welcome to a new episode to Dynamic Conversations, the podcast where I chat with some very smart and interesting close friends of mine about a variety of different topics. That could be recent books or documentaries that we really enjoyed, products or services that we really like, current problems that we are trying to resolve, etc. And in this episode, you get to enjoy a conversation between Asja, Gaspari, and me. Asja is a very talented portrait, fashion, and fine art photographer who I met a couple of months ago in Bali. And who I already consider a very close friend. We each time have great conversations. And here you get to enjoy in this episode a conversation between the two of us. Now, for everything that was mentioned, everything that we talk about in this episode, all the people, all the products and services, all the videos, websites, etc., can all be found in the description, in the show notes. So do have a look if you want to find anything that we talked about. Also, if you want to follow Asja, her Instagram page is linked in the show notes. But with that, please enjoy this dynamic conversation between Asja and me. So, is there anything out of the list that you've put together? Anything that you want to start with, or is there I can start with a thing that I had on my list as well that I want to put here in this conversation. Feel free, how you feel called.
Yeah, I feel comfortable if you start and then we warm up.
Yeah.
Because I always have 1 million things I want to talk about.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this is actually the link that you sent it to me from Kevin Kelly. I honestly have to thank you actually that you sent it to me because I totally did not see that. And I even sent it to a couple of friends of mine, a few that you even know, and everyone loved it. And I thought that was actually a really cool thing to go through together.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't read, when you sent that message, I didn't read the ones that you liked intentionally because I thought this was great to actually cover here and talk a little bit more about, right? So
it was actually also on my list of topics to talk to you about.
There we go. And I think that this whole podcast episode could just be on that alone, on that whole article.
I know, it's so rich in topics. It's 68 items, right? And each one of them can be discussed in detail and length.
So let me just open it here. Where is it?
I'm just pouring a little bit more champagne with juice so I don't taste the champagne so much.
This is such a German thing, to be honest, where they mix things. Or no, wait, sorry. It is actually where juice with water or with sparkling water.
Yeah, that's true. That's very German, but I think it's very me. I like anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a barbaric when it comes to alcohol.
Okay, so I got it actually open here on my iPad. I don't know if you want it open on your computer or something.
Let me just open it. I think I have it here.
Yes. And I honestly marked quite a few things, but I'm not gonna go through all of them because there's quite a lot of them. But let's see. So one of them was, don't be afraid to ask a question that may sound stupid, because 99% of the time everyone else is thinking of the same question and is too embarrassed to ask it. And this is honestly just the first kind of one that's already in there. But so many times I feel literally have a question, but feel embarrassed because it sounds in my head like this is a too simple question to ask. Everyone already knows the answer, so I'm not going to ask it. But in the most of the time, that's totally not the case. And just here right now too, most of the time, many people have actually the same exact question, but everyone feels too embarrassed to ask it. And I thought this was just a really good reminder to read it also from someone like Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, exactly.
That this is just, a good thing to be aware of again.
I agree. I find it very encouraging, and also encouraging in the sense of one thinking about oneself that we are so weird and so different than the other people. and that whatever comes out of us, everyone else will find like super strange.
Yeah.
But that one is encouraging and telling us it might even be helpful, you know, if we let out what's inside.
Exactly. So was there which one out of the lists did you add? And I marked them. I don't know if you marked. I mean, I got them here on Evernote. I put them on there.
Yeah, I copied them in a Word document and just highlighted the ones that I like best or that I disagreed with even also.
I mean, here, I mean, even the first one, honestly, like learn how to learn from those you disagree with or even offend you. See if you can find the truth in what they believe. Which is super difficult, right? Because a lot of times it's very easy to take something personal. But if you can distance yourself and truly try to listen with the intent to understand someone, yeah, you can then you can actually learn something too, right? So I thought that was actually a really great one too.
Yeah, I mean, they are all great advice, but I find that one tricky because I tend to think that the average person is very stupid and I'm smarter. And so I feel like, oh my God, I don't want to like.
Wait, sorry to interrupt, by the way, but do you feel that with everyone?
No, I mean like the average person.
Okay.
You know? Of course. So that's why let me go down in the list. I like another one better and it kind of fits with that one. Yeah. Don't be the smartest person in the room. Hang out with and learn from people smarter than yourself. Even better, find smart people who will disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it fits a little bit the above one, with the exception that you find someone who's smarter than you and disagrees with you. And it would be interesting to think about situations where you can learn from people that you feel are less smart than you.
Yeah. But at which point is someone smarter than you? When do you feel like that person is smarter than me? Because sometimes we think that we're smarter, even though we don't have the facts right, and the other person is actually saying more things that are true, but we just feel like we are smarter than them, even though we're actually saying more wrong things.
I know, I totally agree. I said it a little bit self-ironically also because
Sure.
I can recognize then myself that I'm often thinking like I'm right and all the other people are so blind. How do you find out if the other person really has something to say or if you're wasting your time with them? That's kind of a good question, I think. Yeah. Do you have an answer?
I mean, sort of. So you can do like a little bit of a fact check, like when someone is giving some kind of advice on something, it's like business or something, you could sort of say like, or ask them like, from where are you speaking from? Like from actual experience, like do you have an own company? Or like what's the source? You can actually check off like where is this information coming from, where they're, what they're sharing. Like, is it like from true experience, like that they've done this, that they know what they're talking about? If they're talking about something of like neuroscience, or they're actual neuroscientists, then in that case, they probably might know more than you if you're not one. So you can do some checking and by asking just some questions on their background and
asking some questions probably is doable, but I find it sounds quite how's the word, laborious. Like every time that someone says something that I have to fact check it. Of course, if I start to study the subject, I will find out if the person was right or wrong. But also for me, it's not so much the question if it's like someone teaching me facts about climate change that I Google. And then I know if I can trust the person more or less, or if the person, I don't know, is a fraud. But more maybe life experience, people giving you like good advice on the list of Kevin Kelly, Why do I feel that it's valuable reading this, and another person's life advice I totally discard. And actually that's also, I mean, that's about life and being contradictory, but I find probably to any point that he is, or any, how do you call it, bullet point that he has on his list, you could find the opposite life advice, which sounds just as smart and wise.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that is confusing often. You know, like those sayings in German, we have it alike and alike.
Mm-hmm.
Gleich und gleich gesellt sich gern. Like and alike likes to mingle,
Okay.
and opposites attract.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and kind of both is true. So what value is in the if you just take one?
Okay.
And I think that's also the risk in people just picking the things that fit their worldview,
Mm-hmm.
because you will always find evidence that supports what you want to believe. The confirmation bias, basically.
Sure. You can about anything kind of come up with some kind of evidence, yes. But then it's more on which side is the most evidence. That's where I would sort of go for then.
Yeah, which is smart, but not so doable in everyday life when
No,
you
of course.
interact with people.
Sure. No, it's also a little bit of following your own gut feeling and sort of what you kind of want to believe in and what feels good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think I can answer this question of how do I distinguish if someone is like smarter than me or like smart to learn
Mm-hmm.
from or not. But I find it a good question. I really want to think about it after this conversation.
I also think this is why it's so good. And with example, like with Kevin Kelly, because he turned 68, you know, not always, right? But like older people, like, you know, like him, for example, like he has a lot of years that you don't have.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why I think it's a great thing actually to spend more time with older people. Something that I personally in life would like to do more.
That's true. And yeah, no, I think that's two clues. Like when you don't know or can't fact check immediately, or what he puts as bullet points, you can't really fact check, right? You can just accept it or
Sure.
find it not valuable. But then you just go for external clues like age or
Mm-hmm.
maybe even reputation.
Yep.
Because he's a friend with Tim Ferriss or has appeared on his podcast, for me, he ranks higher and he's a credible source.
Mm. Have you actually watched or listened to any of his like other interviews?
Of Kevin Kelly, you're
Yeah.
asking? No, I think I've read a piece which is called 1000 True Fans,
Yes.
which I really, really liked and
It's a good thing
encouraged
too.
me a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. And maybe one or two more little things, but no, I didn't see or watch anything.
I mean, I mainly know him from the Tim Ferriss show as well, but he has some other interviews out there that are pretty good too. But it's been a while that I listened to them actually. But
I just
it's
signed up for his newsletter, actually.
what, sorry?
I just signed up for his newsletter, and
He has a newsletter too.
yeah, he has a newsletter. He is doing it with two other people, and they are
Really?
sending it out, I don't know, once a week or something. I signed up 2 weeks ago, so so
Well,
far I got two, and
wait.
there's like little bits of also pieces that they found valuable in the last week, and I recommend
So it's
about
just
technical stuff, but also life advice.
on his website, or like, do you know the name, or like where do you go to get to that newsletter?
Let me quickly check because I think I just got it yesterday.
Because there's not a lot of newsletters
It's
that
called.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, email, like, I already get enough of messages and things and all that, so I don't like to subscribe to any newsletters besides like Tim Ferriss, or this one sounds pretty interesting too. So
yeah, it's called Recomendo. So like I recommend in Spanish.
okay, yeah.
And it says a weekly newsletter that gives you 6 brief personal recommendations of cool stuff.
Okay, cool.
And I thought I'd give it a try. I'll just have it for, I don't know, 2 months, and then I decide if I continue or if I discard it.
Nice. All right, well, I'm putting that here. Okay. I will actually look that up after this episode here. Sounds good.
Yeah, and I already, like, so far I found some valuable pieces. For example, just today in the newsletter was scenarios for the next 9 months, saying like with the Corona times, of course we can't predict the future, but there is scenario thinking, and I think it's like I don't know how many, like 4 or 5 scenarios laid out, and you can read them, and then you could at least plan for 5 different scenarios.
Okay.
Just also as a thinking exercise. I recently came across this method of scenario thinking or planning,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of liked it. It's a little bit like science fiction,
Sort of, yeah.
vision, time travel planning.
Is this a little bit the same like with Tim Ferriss like fear setting?
And I feel it's different. It's
Uh-huh.
scenarios is more like that you really develop how the world might look like in 9 months from now, and saying like it might be. I read a different scenario set somewhere else on the German side, and it was like either we live in a digitally controlled society,
Mm-hmm.
and then also a little bit around that, and then or we live in a society that now is based on altruism and really helping each other, but it's a little bit like a dictatorship, because only altruistic actions will be valued, and anything that is self-centered is like morally or socially
Mm-hmm.
frowned upon, so that people feel like they have to be in the charity organizations or volunteer organizations.
Okay.
Or 2 more scenarios. It was 4 in total. It was quite interesting.
But what do you do with it? Is it sort of to get some details out of what could be possible so you could prepare in case if that could become true?
Yeah, I think you can use the method for different purposes. In this case, it was I've had a scholarship when I was in university,
Mm-hmm.
and this scholarship association was now it's like for super smart people.
All right, all right.
No, I'm
I'm
just joking.
talking with a super smart person here,
I just want to stress it.
which I
Probably
am,
three more
which I
times
am.
in this talk. No, I'm just. I still find it funny that I got accepted, but it's called Studienstiftung des Deutschen Volkes, and they were organizing
That
now.
sounds smart.
Yeah, because it's German, right?
Because I couldn't understand it.
So they had this online workshops organized for different areas of work, and I signed up.
Professions?
Yeah, professions.
Okay.
Oh no, yeah. So it was one was on for the health sector,
Yeah,
different sector,
fields.
and
Oh,
then the next one was for the automotive sector, and the next one was for the creative journalistic sector. That's where I signed up, but I didn't get in because there was so much interest,
mm,
and we would have, or they worked with the scenarios, trying to lay out the development of the creative sector in the next, I don't know, year or 10 years. Actually, it was from 2020 to 2030.
mm-hmm.
And then they divided into 4 groups, and each group according to the scenario that had been thought out by some clever person before, not not me.
Mm-hmm.
Would develop how the creative sector looks like, if it's a altruistic dictatorship or a digital community, absolute digital community, and what
Mm-hmm.
that means for the creative sector. I found that super interesting. They might offer it again, and then maybe I get in that time.
But is there a use to it?
Yeah, to react early on
Okay.
tendencies. It's kind
To
of,
help you prepare for a possible future.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure.
And so that's why I found it interesting that now Calvin Kelly also posted it. I haven't read what he posted, but on his newsletter.
All right. I'm curious to actually check that out. So that's a nice thing actually to know. And I haven't used that kind of method actually, I think, myself, which I can definitely see how it could be helpful.
Yeah.
Is there anything out of, so let's
Let's
see.
get back to the list.
Well, I mean, there's so many amazing things on there. Okay, this one I truly, because I like I said, I marked quite a few things. But if I would like make my top 3, out of this, like the first ones that I shared weren't even in there, I think. But this one is definitely in my top 3. Like, pros are just amateurs who know how to gracefully recover from their mistakes. I love this so much. And I'm not even sure how to say it in, to put it out in words why. But I do really think that's true. Because, so wait, there's the quotes. Damn it. Yeah, every master was once a disaster. And it's so true. You got to start from zero. Like, every master in whatever, right? Any kind of field was once a disaster at what they did. And it's just by picking yourself up, recovering, and just continuing on that you get to the pro level. And I think, or that's at least when I read that, what that felt like for me. And I think this is super true, that all the pros were amateurs at some point.
Is it speaking to you because it's against the common assumption that people come out of the womb as a genius?
No, it's more because it's how it happened for me as well. And how I also think that basically 90% of the things in life are a skill. Like, you can literally become good at not everything, but so many things. And it's just about just dedication, practice, and just repeating that every day. And it just spoke to me.
A different bullet point also, like, is 99% is about showing up or something.
Yeah, I don't know if that was actually in this list. It could be, but it's definitely a saying. I think he was actually, yes, maybe at the end.
I haven't underlined it, but I remember it was.
Yeah, I don't think I've underlined that either, but it's definitely something that I've heard a few times. Oh yeah, here. Oh no, wait.
The list is, people who are listening, it's 68 items long because Kevin Kelly turned 68, so he gave out 68 bullet points of unsolicited advice. I like that self-ironic tone also.
Yes.
Because
and I mean,
that's what old people also tend to do. Not old people, especially old men, I feel often, I must say, giving out unsolicited advice.
oh, right. And that's what I think I like. Age doesn't equal intelligence or being smart.
Yeah, unfortunately not, I think.
Exactly. Unfortunately not. I do know plenty
Otherwise, we would just have to wait,
yeah. But it certainly can, and I think with him, for example, it definitely is.
I love being enthusiastic is worth 25 IQ points. I think mostly because it's placed to my self-vanity, because I'm so enthusiastic always, and I think like, yes, so I have some already in my pocket, but also because I feel so drawn to enthusiastic people. And I can so see how that is also playing into what you were just saying about the amateurs who show up, who fall and then keep on trying. And a big part is, I think, if it's unhealthy, probably it's having your super ego, how is it called in English, the Über-Ich from Freud, beating you up all the time. That might be a motivator to keep going. But also, I think if it's enthusiasm, that's it's like a beautiful thing, a beautiful motor behind progressing.
Yeah, and I think if it's just your ego, or if you're doing it for trying to prove something, it more comes out of anger. And if it's more out of being enthusiasm, well, I can't say that word, but if it's exactly, thanks, it comes more out of a place of love.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's true.
But so I can totally see how I also feel more I'm not going to say the word, but anyway, people who are passionate.
Yeah, just like, and I think, that would be one topic on my list, is like, we have talked about it before, is like my search for my tribe, how someone recently called it. And that would be, and I'm still trying to define what is my tribe. But definitely I haven't found it yet, and I often feel quite alone with my enthusiasm and my ideas and the topics I'm interested in. And I'm not wanting to say that I'm special, and my joke about being smarter is different. I just feel like those people who want to achieve something and who don't want to be content with what is, like living their small lives, not daring to be happy, but just rather out of fear staying in their half satisfied worlds is just so uninspiring. And so I've been quite unhappy about it, and more in the past year, realizing that I'm in a place where I don't have those enthusiastic people around me, which doesn't mean they don't exist. I recently spent a month in Bali. That's where we met. And I found out they do exist because I was in a co-working space with people from around the world. And that encouraged me a lot, because before I was also sometimes thinking maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm having too high expectations.
Right. Yeah.
And that gave me hope. So they do exist. So now it's just about finding them. And I live in Hamburg. It's a city of nearly 2 million inhabitants in Germany. And it's impossible that they don't exist here. I mean, maybe it's not the city where they live in thousands, I think that's more, I'm trying to find out what is it that I'm looking for, and is it really like one group of people, or maybe can it be satisfied by different people, but just like, recently, or the past 1.5 years, maybe I've been feeling quite unfulfilled and lonely. So that list has also been striking a lot of chords on that behalf.
So I'm smiling because this sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
Then we can jump to this question, right? So, and I mean, it feels very familiar in my own past, but it feels less familiar now because it's changed. Where I do feel like I'm more surrounded with people who are like driven, who have like high goals, who have passion for what they do. But what was exactly the question that you wanted to ask? Or was it more the topic that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, it's the topic. It's like, if you ask me like what's moving me at the moment, like in a broader sense, like not daily, but more in a broader sense, is this like finding my tribe, I call it right now. And like, how do I find it? And
what have you tried?
What am I looking for? So I think that's why when I say like being enthusiastic is worth 25 IQ points, what he put on the list is like, so that's definitely one thing I'm looking for, enthusiastic people.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I highlighted, which we already talked about, is like, don't be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I'm longing for like smart people who are better than me in many things that I can learn from, because I prefer to be challenged and like maybe not the weakest member, but even like if I have to make a choice, I prefer to be the weakest member than the strongest member, because I want to grow.
Right. Okay, but it's not even about being the weakest or being the strongest. It's just someone who has some expertise, some knowledge where you can learn from. Someone who's like, some making some curiosity again, or like provoking something in your brain.
That's true.
You don't have to be the smartest or the weakest for that.
Which I also have been thinking about lately, is maybe that I have to distinguish, am I looking for a mentor? That sense, maybe that person can be like kind of above me, or am I looking for friends?
That's
because I have a ton of friends around me. It's not that I don't have friends. I've many friends. That's not the question. But like more for people on eye level, and that is then not about being the smartest or not smart, but then it's like everyone has different capabilities, and together we can learn from each other.
All right, that's good actually. I don't know, of course, right? But I think you might be more wanting to look, or that you might be more longing for friends who are more also after like as driven as you are. I think that might, and And I think that because that was
Like a
personally,
peer group, yeah, more.
yeah, and I think that because that was personally for me,
Yeah.
once that happened, that I was like, oh, that was it actually. I just wanted, and I have friends like you say, right? But not like really close friends in the past. Right now, I could say more that I have some very close friends, and the ones that I consider close friends are the ones who are more like-minded, thinking like me, and more driven like me. And I think that might be the one thing that you might be missing as well. More like close friends who are, yeah, more similar driven as you are.
I think both, actually, now thinking about it.
Okay.
Um, a peer group of people where I feel like home, understood.
Because that's the family and the tribe part.
Yeah, exactly. And where we in ping pong, I'm always thinking about like in ping pong, we push each other to higher levels and grow together.
Yeah.
And but also kind of a mentor for orientation and guidance. And that I have found in Tim Ferriss,
Yeah.
very much. But so far, he's the brightest star on my in my universe. And I think it would also be good to have more diversity, because I can project every of my longings and wishes on him. I don't know if that's maybe unhealthy,
And mentors you can find, I mean, of course, like in person it will be great, but like, yeah, podcasts as Tim Ferriss. So there's different podcasts that could be great to actually test out, to find some others in there that could be on your list of mentors.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Tony Robbins. I remember you told me already a little bit about him. I hear many people praising him and saying that they got so much out of his attending his seminars. I would give it a try, but so far he doesn't really hit my chord completely. Like I feel it's a different, still a different group, because I think also what I'm looking for is, yeah, it's driven people, but people that are not only driven by money, fame, success, only
Okay.
bettering themselves to the highest level so they can be like efficient, machines, or the perfect lover, partner, everything, but also the other side, the more compassionate side, the self-compassionate
The
side,
more human sides.
yeah, the human side, the soft side, the psychological side, the one that is not so focused on productivity and success.
I
And I've
wouldn't.
found that many people are so focused, like who are driven, are very focused on the worldly, successful.
Sure, maybe you could say on the perfect side, which is
So
not human,
yeah,
right? But I wouldn't say that Tony Robbins is about that.
no,
Have you picked up? How come you think about that when you think about him?
not 100% because of him, but of the people who
Yeah.
love him. They
Okay.
maybe see more like the business type people who want to be best in what they do, but not so much, don't have so much hard competence.
Okay. So if you would actually attend like one of his events, like UPW, like Unleash the Power Within, which is 3 days or something, or 4 days. It's so much about love. I would say that's the primarily thing that it's about. It's just the primarily thing that you will feel there as well, and the people are there. When I think about Tony Robbins, I don't even think immediately about business, or like, it's more the whole complete circle of like, yeah, sure, career and passion, but also like health, and food and friends and all that. I don't know. I feel like you might have not a complete picture of what he really is about, because it's definitely not only about business. It's in there, but it's definitely not one of his sole purposes or reasons what he's doing. And like I said, attending the events, and I think if you would ask that from people who were there, they would say the same. There's so much love that you feel when you're there, and that's the main feeling actually when I think about that event. That I just felt so much love.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think when you want to look for a mentor, which can truly be through a book or through a podcast, it should also be someone that speaks to you, right? and not just someone who's like very known or very popular.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing mentors that are not so known as well. And so it might be interesting to sort of explore also the more unknown people, or to more explore, I don't know, the books or the podcasts that you are very interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And to you don't have to follow Tony Robbins just because he's very known, but more follow someone who's really.
No, for me it's
And I
not
don't think you will,
known.
right? But
Just
it's
because I just came across him, so I thought I could consider him.
yes. I mean, and if you don't, I mean, maybe consuming some more of his content might lead to you getting a better picture of what he's actually about. Which then could lead to you actually, attending an event or whatever, right? Or
Yeah,
feeling more like
give
he's a
it a
mentor.
try. Yeah.
Uh,
Do you have mentors? Like
yes.
real ones that also know you back, and ones
Oh yeah,
that are kind of virtual?
both. Yes. I would say the virtual ones were there first because they're easier, they're reachable, right? Even if they're already dead, you can still use. They're still mentors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, very much, if I would say a top 3 of mentors, very much would say Tony Robbins. Sorry, no, Tim Ferriss is very much in that list.
I love you so much for saying that.
I mean, I have to thank him. If I would meet him in person,
Yeah.
there's so many things I would have to thank him for. I mean, have to, but like so many things that I could thank him for, right? And the same for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for so many people. Another mentor is Gary Vaynerchuk. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you know him.
No, I will write him down.
I'm not sure if. Check him out, right? That's all I
Yeah,
can
I
say.
think I know. Yeah. Gary, what is his last name?
Yeah, it's if you look for Gary V,
Yeah.
that's you will find him. Like he's very very popular actually as well. Yeah, but that's I would say Tim Ferriss is more like the mentor of personal life. I would say Gary Vaynerchuk is for me really the mentor of like business.
Okay, I see.
I love how he thinks about business and careers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think if I would say like a third mentor, it's hard to actually put a third person on there.
Maybe one that knows you back.
Yeah, then I actually would say, so I interviewed him as well. His name is Rich Hungerford. Interviewed him on the IPS podcast. He's an ex-SAS commander. He was, and so I met him in Australia when I attended actually one of his survival courses.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first person, or one of the only persons that I actually, and this sounds so, well, I don't know how, but that I really felt like I could see a father figure in.
Mm-hmm.
And to give some context for anyone listening, I lost my dad, right? So when I was young. But this was really the first person that I felt like, like some kind of father figure in, that I was like, wow, this is someone that I truly look up to, that is right there in front of me. And been having calls with him, like I said, also on the podcast, been having emails and all that. And he's been a great support in my life, actually, with some amazing wisdom. And I would love to go back to Australia just to see him again. Yeah, he has a lot of online content as well, but it's more survival. It's more,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some deep philosophy too, and some deep knowledge as well about life.
I wonder how much of the search for a mentor of people, me, you, but also other people, is about finding your parent.
Yeah.
Because for me, definitely, it's also the
Mm.
same. Like for you, like also kind of looking for some fatherly figure and orientation. Yeah.
When you think about a mentor, is it primarily a man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, yeah. When I think about a mentor, it's a man. But I'm also if on the lookout for role models, and there it's primary, or it's exclusively women. And I am a photographer, and there are not many successful female photographers that I really look up to and see as a role model. So I'm also still on the lookout there.
I think
Especially,
that's
I don't have kids, but I would, and I'm not sure if I want some, but I would love to have a role model of a successful female photographer in the commercial sense, also successful, with children. And I find it so depressing that seems not so possible.
I'm sure there are. I don't know directly any, to be honest, but I mean, just because I haven't looked, to be honest, but I'm sure there must be.
But I mean, they're okay. If you put a list of female successful photographers with kids, there are some. But then to classify as a potential role model, they have to have like some more traits that I admire, right? And if you put a list of successful male photographers with kids, you will find thousands. It's not even mentioned if the photographer has a kid or not, because it doesn't play a role. They always have, I'm generalizing, but they often have some support in the background, just handling the household and the kids so they can go off and have their career. And I recently came across a photographer, actually. Her name is Lauren Greenfield. I don't know if you've heard of her. She became most famous for her exhibition Generation Wealth.
Okay.
She has been portraying rich people, society with money, for I think more than 20 years, mostly in the United States, I think.
Lauren Greenfield.
Yes.
Let me just.
And she also has I saw her exhibition, and I also watched the documentary that she made. And it's a little bit autobiographical. So she's also weaving herself inside the story and her own issues with why is she so attracted to not having money, but like to being close to people who are famous and wealthy. Very critical also. And she has a family.
Yeah.
She has a husband and I think 2 sons, as far as I remember. And she is a role model. So she became famous and is living her career. And she has a husband who is, as far as I could guess it out of the documentary, is most of the time like having her back and staying home a lot with kids while she goes on her adventures and travels and does her work. And I found that impressive, because that way it's possible if you have like a second person having your back and managing the invisible work.
There's also a thing that it's not only when there's someone else that has done it that it's impossible. You could also yourself become the role model.
It could be the first, you mean?
For example, right? Exactly. Because sometimes we're like, no one else has done it, so it's impossible, or not, or hard to do. But it could be that it's you who has to do it to show that it is possible.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with you. It's still, I think it's worth looking.
Of course, no, definitely, right? Because it helps to not feel alone in that.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm very sure there must be more than that you've even found.
And also too, because I think I'm kind of at a point where I want to choose a life path. Then life comes probably completely differently. But that way it would be nice to not only find like one successful female photographer that I look up to, but like, why aren't there like many? Why aren't there thousands? So I can see so many different life paths laid out in front of me. Right now, it seems that the main narrative is always marry, have kids, have a career, but have a family. And there are so little, I see so little options to that, alternatives, and I find that uninspiring. But you're right, I will probably be one of the fewer people who will go a different path, and then other women can see that example and decide if they want it or if they don't want it.
Yeah, although I'm pretty sure there must be more than just the ones that you have found, I'm very sure there must be more women with children and a family, who go out on adventures and take photos and all that.
Yeah, if you come across one, then
Yeah, it's good
it's
to
amazing.
know. Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe I
but
should like write it on my Facebook page and ask people to give examples. No, like I'm not joking. It
well,
could be a
I mean,
thing.
if you truly want to know, then I'm sure that could be a way to do that, actually,
Yeah,
right? To get some good answers, or
and not
well,
to
to get some
imitate
answers.
them, just to see. I don't know, to fuel
But
my imagination.
I understand the reason to want to know that there are more people who do or who have done it, because you can draw lessons and knowledge from how they have
Exactly.
done it, right?
And then do it differently,
Yeah, and know that it can be done, and know exactly, yeah, you can customize it to your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. Let's see. Do you want to share something else out of the list from Kevin Kelly?
Well, I liked a lot. Trust me, there is no them.
Okay, I have
I
to.
love that.
Oh, I'm seeing it here, right. I have to. Okay, how did you interpret that bullet point?
Trust me, there is no them.
I didn't completely, I would say, get it. I get it to. Yeah, I'm just want to know how you get it.
Yeah, well, the way I interpret it is that people who talk about us and them
Yeah. Okay.
is very dividing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think there is no them, we are all one. Well, we are
Right.
all one. That's also fairy tale a little bit. Of course, we are all different, of course.
Yeah.
But whenever I think you find yourself, I find it also good to remind yourself, not also to point fingers and say like, oh, other people are so hating and the Trump voters always talk about them and that's why they divide the nation. Also, whenever I find myself talking about them, it creates this like in-group, out-group thinking, and it's often connected to raising your in-group and lowering the out-group. And in the end, I think I'm not sure if it serves like any good in the world.
It doesn't.
So I like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically how I thought about it as well.
Okay.
Let me just see.
And here's one: when you die, you take absolutely nothing with you except your
Ooh.
reputation.
I marked that one for sure too. Yeah.
Where either I don't understand it or I don't agree, because I agree you take absolutely nothing with you. Maybe you take things with you that we don't know about yet, but why would you take your reputation with you? I understand, like, it's from the song, I think, isn't it from the Beatles? You don't take nothing with you what your soul think.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think it's playing on the card of you don't take your money and your wealth with you, so just be generous before and live the moment. But you don't take your reputation with you either.
Well, that's what people mainly will remember. Your story that you created here in this life. Like who you were as a person.
Okay, but you don't take it with you. You leave it. Then I think he has to rephrase it.
Well, in a
You
way,
don't leave absolutely nothing behind except your reputation.
well, in a way, you do take it with you, but this is all depending on what you believe in, I guess.
Yeah, there you go, right where you.
It's a part of your soul, right? Of who you are. Money is a physical thing, doesn't move with you to the next life. So I guess you do if you want to take it to that way, but it also depends what you believe in. But that's the only thing that you take with you, like your skills that you learned here, who you've become here in this life. Those things you will take with you to the next life.
Depending on what you believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More
okay.
How I got that. Where is that actually? Well, anyway, more how I took that is that I think in the end, people will remember you by your stories, not how much you just got like physical things, or like people will just mainly remember you by your reputation, by who you were as a person.
But that doesn't matter to me, how people remember me. I think for the people being behind, I would prefer that someone leaves me $1 million behind than a good reputation.
Right.
And
Okay.
as a person dying, of course, my $1 million doesn't help me. But if I take karma points to the next life, perfect. So it depends on whom you ask.
Where is that question actually? Is that more?
I can read it again. It's when you die,
Oh
you
yeah,
take
here.
absolutely nothing with you except your reputation.
Yeah, I think this question could either be taken
Would be
again.
interesting to ask him what he means by it, and debate it with him.
Sure, but I marked it here as well. But why did you mark it actually?
Because I marked also somewhere I didn't understand or where I disagreed.
Yeah.
I have another one.
Well, actually, but actually,
Yeah.
the next one that he writes under that, before you're old, attend as many funerals as you can bear and listen. Nobody talks about the depart's achievements. The only thing people will remember is what kind of person you were while you were achieving. I think those two are actually kind of combined in a way together.
I disagree there too. It's
Okay.
not true. People do talk about people's achievements, at least at the funerals I attended.
Yeah, but I mainly think they will tell about what kind of person you were when you were achieving it.
So saying like he was always so attentive, and even if he was stressed, he always had a nice word for the cleaning
Right.
lady.
I don't think they would say like, oh, he made that company, he made that other company, he made that. It's more about, yeah, like you were, like he was a very attentive person to his, people working for him. He cared about the world. He cared about bettering people's lives. I think that's mainly right. Not everyone, but I think mainly what people will remember you by.
Yeah, I've been told lately that I talk too much in absolutes, and I'm always using always, never, and so that is more criticizable than, and that's also what he does. Like nobody talks about the departed's achievements. I've heard people talk about someone's achievements and
Okay,
not how they were, but yeah, I get what you are explaining about how he might have meant it.
sure.
and and that's like a very general life advice that everybody gives you, like focus on your family, on the moments, and don't focus too much on money, and no one will ask on your death. No one ever on the deathbed said, I regret not having spent more hours at my desk or in my office.
That's true. Do you actually know The Top Regrets of the Dying? It's a book.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I've come across it quite often. Yeah.
I mean, the bullet points you can find in articles online, but it's a very interesting one. I even at some point actually printed out those bullet points and hang them on my door.
Oh,
So
really?
whenever I was leaving it, I was actually looking at them. This was when I was like living in Barcelona, so this was like maybe like a year or so ago or two. But it's good things to remind yourself of, because you can learn a lot from people who are about to die.
That's true, but again, like I said in the beginning, you can always find the contrary, or like if you just focus on your family and on being in the moment and don't care about money and your achievements, then also I don't think you will have a very
No, okay,
life.
that's true, of course. But it's not about just taking everyone's advice, but more generally put together what are the most people who are about to die are
How to
saying.
like focus your compass.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's more about having more balance now before it's too late.
yeah.
But if that's already a thing, if you already aren't going to the one of the extremes, then you don't have to do that, right? But it's just sometimes nice to just read it again and be like, yes, I could spend some more time with my family. I could take a bit more vacations. I'm not going to regret it when I'm about to die.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's leading to a topic that I have on my list. But before, I wanted to say, pick another bullet point, because you said you put something on your door from the regrets of the dying. And one thing that I've marked that I will definitely print out and put on above my computer is the bullet point: when you get an invitation to do something in the future, ask yourself, would you accept this if it was scheduled for tomorrow? Not too many promises will pass that immediacy filter.
That is such a good thing to print out.
That's like such a practical life advice. I find. Oh my God, I've like accepted so many things that I regretted so dearly when the day arrived.
Yeah, this helps to get more of an urgency in it, and to truly ask, like, is this really, important to me?
And connected with feelings, because if it's scheduled in 6 months, then I think about it with this half of my brain that is like career oriented. That's like thinking, oh, this is a good opportunity, I should speak at that conference. And the one that's, I feel I have two sides in myself. One that is like with a whip pushing me very hard, and one that is more like connected to the heart and who wants to like flow freely and be creative and be in the moment and don't feel too uncomfortable. And so I never take into account this side that is more about like feeling warm and free when I commit to those requests. And that's unfair, because then only one of my sides gets to decide, and then the day comes and I hate it and I don't want to do it and I feel uncomfortable. But of course, on the other side, afterwards, I'm happy that I did it because I pushed myself and I did something uncomfortable, and that required courage.
Do you actually know, I'm pretty sure you do know, but like Tim Ferriss was like writing a new book, which in the end he stopped, but about
not to say no.
Yes. Which I feel like, damn, like that would have been a book that I would have so wanted to buy, to be honest. But either way, he's gonna put that out on his blog, more in blog articles, right? But that's such a good skill to know, to master as well, right?
Do you have a problem with saying no?
I wouldn't say that I have a problem, but it's such a common thing that people say yes, and then when it's about to happen, they were like, damn it, I should have said no to that. It's not like I have a thing where I can't say no or something, but still, the more what is this kind of quote? The more yes you say to someone else, the more no you say to yourself. And I'm really trying to be very, very mindful what I truly more want, and I'm trying to say more and more no to things. But it's more about being able to say it gracefully without hurting the other person, and just the other tactics or something. But actually what I wanted to ask you was, do you have any ways on how you've learned how to say no better? Is there anything that you can think of? And even like what you said right now here in this list, by having a reminder printed out somewhere before saying yes is already a great way, right? But is there anything else that you can think of that you have?
I wonder if I really have, if that really is one of my problems, saying no. I don't think it's like such a pressing problem. But yeah, of course, I do come across it. Like, for example, I get asked a lot as a photographer by friends or not so close friends if I can take some portraits of them.
Sure.
And either they don't even think about that it could be paid, like, you have the camera anyways, it won't take so long, I don't need like artsy pictures, just like take some very plain pictures for my CV, and won't take too much of your time. Or friends who say like, yeah, but I want to pay you, but I think are not so aware that it's quite expensive.
Sure, yeah.
Pay like a professional photographer to take your portrait. And also connected what they don't know is that's my understanding of quality. I don't want to be the photographer who takes like, oh no, don't put so much effort in it. It's just like then I think take your smartphone and do it yourself, if you don't want good pictures. Because if I take pictures, I really take time to connect to the person, to create an atmosphere where they trust me, where we get into a flow state, where we start to play. And that way I think good pictures can come out. But for that you need time, and time, is that what costs money. And so how do I convey that message to people? And I've been struggling with it, and I've been getting better and better, talking to people about it. And recently my neighbor, he started a business, and he asked me the same question, and I said, all right, we don't have to, like, you don't have to pay me. You have something that is interesting for me, that requires your time, and our time is worth the same. So we could just swap time.
Sure. Trade.
Yeah. And we met, and he felt that, he said, oh, you can't compare it. What I do, because he's like a trauma massage therapist.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of. Is it now emotional release massages? Yeah, that's what he does. And I found it really interesting. And he said, yeah, but you can compare it with what you do, because when I do one of the sessions, which takes like 2 hours, I put everything into it. And then afterwards I'm like completely exhausted. And when you take pictures, you
don't do that, right?
Yeah. And also what people also never see is that for me, it's not the time only that I spend with the person, but of course, before the preparing, the afterwards downloading the pictures and working on them, and the communication with the client. And so all in all, it would have taken me probably 8 hours to do a session with him. And then I felt not really appreciated, and that he wasn't valuing my work. And I felt that's okay, but then I don't want to, like, I'm not offended or anything, or maybe it was a little bit, to be honest, but it's fine. And I just don't want to take the pictures then. And how do I get out of this commitment if we've already met in a cafe and talked about stuff? And I'm better in written communication than in verbal communication. So I sat down and I thought of the advice that I got once, that you don't say no directly, but that you put something positive, then something negative, then something positive.
Yep.
And I did that, and I and I wrote this email, and then I never heard, like, I didn't hear back from him for a long time. And I was so nervous, thinking that now he hates me and or he is offended. Then I met him on the stairs recently, and he said, you know what? I loved your email. It was written, your no was written so nicely that I used it as a blueprint for whenever I had to say no afterwards.
All right. What? Okay.
I apparently got better at it since.
First of all, I think it's what you meant. Like, it's really important to know the best way that you can communicate. And some can do it better through a phone call, and some can do it exactly better through a text. So I think that's already a great thing to start with in saying no, by knowing what is the best way that you can communicate in. And actually what you said, starting with something positive, in the middle something negative, and then negative is sort of like the saying no part, right? And then ending with something positive is a great recipe, actually, because then they end with some good feelings. And it's sort of like when you watch a movie and the ending is shitty, then for me the whole movie is shitty. But if the ending is amazing, it leaves, a good feeling. It's like, all right, this was good. But it's a little bit like that too. That's
true.
Yeah.
And plus, actually, I'm getting more and more into nonviolent communication by Rosenberg. And that is all about the needs that are behind our actions or someone else's actions. And if you see the needs behind why someone else wants something or why you don't want to do it, then it's not about judging something bad or good. It's more then also, I used that actually in the email to him. I just wrote, I assume that that's what you like, and then you can also honor it. you don't have to put it down, because I can understand that need he has. He needs pictures, and he feels that he puts so much effort in it, and he wants to be seen. And I can, but at the same time, I can, not putting it in contrary, but just laying out my needs, saying that I also want to be seen, and that I also put a lot of effort in it, and that so that makes it more understandable, maybe, and it's not such a
exactly. It's not a battle, but it's kind of clear communication of understanding. So I would say maybe let's share both one more out of the list, if there's any more, and then maybe let's move to any other topics that we had. Let me just see if I can pick a good one, or like a last good one that I think. Well, this is maybe a suiting one, I guess, for what we're going through right now with COVID-19. Maybe it's not the well either way. But when crisis and disaster strike, don't waste them. No problems, no progress.
Oh, I love that you picked that one. I would have also chosen that one.
Well.
It's kind of a cheesy one, a little bit like see the chances in any crisis bears a chance or something. But it's also so true.
Exactly. It's super true. And I think this is sort of how my mind sort of works. I always try to focus on what I can do in any kind of given situation. And I think that's the best approach to anything, but especially actually in crisis and disaster, because then there's like a whole bunch of problems which can help you to progress to something new or to something bigger. Just a flyer.
Yeah, I agree. And one of my main drivers in life is that I want to grow and learn. And then realizing that will probably not happen when I'm lying in my bathtub comfortably, So I need problems and struggle in order to grow.
And if you can keep that mindset, because sometimes it's obviously very difficult when some kind of disasters and problems happen. But if you can have that, like, okay, this is a great opportunity, like in relationships when you're having a fight, I think if you can see like this is a great opportunity, or with friendships, right? This is a great opportunity for us to get even closer and to make more progress in our relationship, romantic or friendships, right? And that's applicable to anything. So like you said, it's a cheesy one, but such a great one to use in basically any situation in life.
Good to keep in mind, because before I became a photographer, I was working in adult education in the broader sense for the German government, and at the academy where we trained people before they went abroad to work in international cooperation. And we regularly had to evaluate our trainers who were delivering the trainings to our participants. And and that's also a whole broad big topic, like how do you evaluate? And having in mind that no learning process is probably taking place without some internal disturbance and problems, we had to also rethink how we interpret the feedback that participants gave immediately after the training, and not reflected in a bad way back on the trainer. Because if a participant, you do the evaluation after the course and everyone rates like, oh, it was like such a nice atmosphere and we loved the trainer and we were feeling so entertained. Then the trainer is reviewed in a good way and we book him again. But maybe the participants don't learn as much as with a trainer that is triggering them. I'm just, that has to be discussed in depth, because not only provoking customers will guarantee a learning curve, but just having in mind that that maybe customers feel a little bit in uproar internally,
Mhm.
and that will reflect in the evaluation, and we can't put it as a negative point onto
Yes.
the account of the trainer.
I
Also,
remember
interesting for you as a trainer, right?
I remember we were talking about this actually in Bali.
Oh, really? Okay.
But it's good that you're saying that because it's a great point, and I agree. Like when someone can trigger something more, it can be more seen as a negative, even though it's possibly moving more things.
Yeah, you're unhappy right afterwards, but in the long term, you gain something.
Yes, even if you think about therapy, the goal of therapy is not always to come out of it happily. Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
can happen that you might feel afterwards more unhappy, but that's not per se a bad thing. Things have shifted, things have changed. If you're moving through something, that's a good thing, actually. So yes, so that's actually great. Yeah. Okay, so wait, I picked this one.
Yeah.
Can you pick another last one?
I love the absolute last one that he put on the list, and it says, "The universe is conspiring behind
Oh,
your back to make you a success. This will be much easier to do if you embrace this pronoia."
absolutely.
Then I had to look up the word pronoia,
Okay.
and it's actually it's related to paranoia, and paranoia is that you
Um,
see around you things that are against you,
mhm,
and pronoia is that you see things around you that are working in your favor.
great.
Or imagining them. If they are there or not, we don't know.
But it's so true.
And I like this optimistic view.
It's super optimistic, right? And
And actually, that's how I feel. And there's a quote I love from John. It's attributed to John F. Kennedy, and it's like, "Life is unfair, but not always to your disadvantage."
sure, that's true. uh, yeah, I love that you picked that as the last one, actually, and it's also literally the last one on the list.
Yeah.
But it's a great one that I was actually super happy to read as well. Just the last, I think, is really a
The last
vacation. A vacation plus a disaster is an adventure. I think that's a
bit.
really nice one too.
Yeah, I had to think. I was thinking. I was discussing that with a friend and thinking,
Uh-huh.
like, is it really true? I mean, it's a funny one, but
I
you,
mean,
you need a disaster to have an adventure. I feel I have it. For me, sounds also cheesy, but for me, everyday life can be an adventure, and I don't need disasters for that.
sure, and with disaster, it doesn't mean like an earthquake or something like that, right? But something going wrong, right? When you plan to go and see some kind of temple and your scooter breaks, the whole, visiting temple just turned into an whole adventure where you have to fix the scooter, get to the temple. It more happened, then it's got to be more memorable.
At least,
And
yeah, that's more memorable, and it's like it makes good for a good story afterwards.
exactly. So that's kind of what I took out of that one. So this whole list is way too much to cover all. And, for everyone listening, this is a link that I will put in the show notes. So you can find it there. I'm actually curious if there's something out of your bullet points, well, not bullet points, but anything out of the list of things that you wanted to discuss or talk about, if there was something that you wanted to share.
Well, I have always 1 million things that
Drop all of them.
are messing in my mind. So I have, for example,
Wait, 1 second. I'm gonna get some more wine actually in my glass.
yeah, I already finished my sparkling wine.
If do you have another one?
I have water now.
Sparkling water or just water?
I don't like sparkling water. I'm really weird when it comes to drinks.
I mainly don't.
You what?
I mainly don't drink sparkling water either. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's not even a thing in Belgium. I know it is a thing in Germany. When they give you water, it's sparkling water, right?
Yeah, but you can order both. But we have a lot of, like you mentioned in the beginning, we mix a lot of sparkling water with juice.
Yeah.
We call it Schale, and it's refreshing. It's good.
No. I'm absolutely not saying it's not great. It's really tasty. But here in Belgium, if you ask for water, it's gonna be still water.
Already.
You have to ask for sparkling water.
Yeah, my Portuguese friend, he said that in Portugal, sparkling water is what you drink when you have a tummy ache.
I guess, yeah.
Funny.
Same with Coke, kind of moves things, I guess. But it's tasty anyway, so it's not like you only have to drink that. So
But yeah,
I was interrupting.
do we have time left to talk?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Okay, great. I'm happy to continue. Well, I have a big topic where I think you might be a little bit an expert on. So maybe I'm getting a free advice here.
Let's see.
Like a coaching session, and it's well, how to be more focused and productive, and more specifically, because I've tried. It's not like how to be more focused and productive. Then, of course, I've like asked myself this question for the past whatever 20 years and tried like 1 million different approaches. Then also how to find the balance between like being super productive, which is also not good for yourself sometimes, I think, because I don't want to be like, I want to be productive, but I don't want to sacrifice my internal balance, creativity, listening to my heart. I don't want to be like this highly focused, successful person in the end. That's not my main goal. I tend to be a little bit like either to the one side or the other. So I'm actually struggling with that at the moment. Corona started, and I just, everyone was doing like so many creative, great things, and I just didn't do anything because I couldn't get up in the morning. It's like also about structure. I wake up at not so late, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I just lie in bed for 2-3 hours and think about life.
Yeah. Yes.
And then I already feel bad and think, oh my God, it's like, why am I not structured? Why don't I have routines? Then I get up, I try to do my routines. That the routines take another 3 hours. Then around 3 o'clock I get to my office because I have a studio office where I work from.
Okay.
And then maybe my whip side comes out, and it's saying like, now you've missed 6 hours of productive work already. Now you have to stay until the night. Like either that one, and then I am productive, but on the cost of being very unhappy, and also missing out on meeting friends, because that's when my friends come from work. And or I think like, oh, I don't want to be so hard on myself. It's 6 o'clock, I'm getting tired, I should get home, but then I didn't really work anything. So that's like,
so all right, I got a few things, but
so give me a psychotherapy session, please.
about productivity.
Wait, before you start, maybe I can just mention just brief bullet points of what I've tried already.
Okay, but first let me ask one thing, but you definitely do it afterwards. But what makes you think that I'm super productive, or what makes you think that I am productive?
Well, first of all, I thought you are a little bit an expert on it because you put out a course.
Yep. Okay.
On, I don't know if it's specifically productivity or focus.
Yep, it's productivity.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Which can mainly, it's using your time more efficiently and more effectively.
And then it's because, of course, I don't know how you spend your days, like in detail. I'm not sure.
You don't know? I sent you my schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My advice couldn't find out. And I see you putting out you have a lot of output into what it seems to me.
Yeah.
You publish on social media regularly. You have new things to communicate. You put out podcast episodes and new courses. And I don't know, it's also not, productivity in itself is not the end goal, right? I think you only have to be as productive as is necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But then, if there was something else.
No, so I tried, of course, to-do lists. I've tried done lists, like the other way around, to see what I did. I tried meditation. Now I've recently started with it actually, and now I'm trying different meditation apps, experimenting if that's helping. I'm struggling and trying routines. I tried journaling. I
Wait.
tried,
To obtain what? To obtain what? To obtain productivity?
yeah, to
Or
obtain
to obtain
focus, and then with the focus, I hope that productivity goes up. At the same time, it's like whining on a high level, because I think other people from around me would like say about me that I'm a highly productive or not productive. They don't know my daily work, but like what I achieve or what I put out
Yep.
into the world, I think it doesn't seem like I'm hiding under my covers all the time.
No, it doesn't.
So it's so interesting that there's like such a gap of how it feels internally.
Yeah. And how the world perceives it.
How the world perceives it. But internally, it feels like an absolute mess. I have like fog in my head, and
how many times does that not happen?
How many times? What?
That with famous people or known people, that they seem extremely productive, but that they themselves feel like they are not, or that they are not reaching up to what they are saying.
That's true. I think that's what Tim Ferriss is good at, is triggering that, or like asking that question to the people he interviews to stress that they are also not having a clue always and fail. And so, but it's like I feel the cost of my output is so high. It's so I only achieve things because I have this website in me, and I wish that wouldn't, like, I could achieve them without being like so harsh and without being last minute, because of 90% of procrastination and then 10% of beating myself up and putting something out.
Because I personally don't think the issue, or well, the problem is not too much that you don't know tactics or tools on how to sit down. You do know all of them, and the list that you're going to go through now, you can tune, of course, but it's basically just all the tactics and tools out there, right? I don't think that is the problem of everything here. But yeah, please, what else of the points were there on there?
Yeah, so time management stuff, of course. And then the one last thing that I haven't mentioned is, of course, therapy, because then it comes to that point thinking like, okay, if it's not about knowing the techniques or the structure tools, it's maybe internally, it's maybe like question why, what perception do I have of myself if I don't achieve something?
Yeah. Okay. One thing I think is really good to know is that in many ways we are similar people, but in many other ways people are very different. And what works for me doesn't work per se for you, and what works for you doesn't always work for me, and that goes for everyone. And so maybe you gotta find more exactly the you, or not push too much. Maybe you're pushing too much what other people are telling you that works for them, not listening to what works for you, actually, if that makes sense.
Yeah, probably. Yes, it's true. I mean, everyone has to adapt.
I mean, I can literally throw out now some amazing productivity techniques that work like great for me.
So what gave me, because I then thought, okay, maybe then it's not about knowing about the tips, but it's more, I have to work on internal things. But then actually some things did help and make a big shift. I can name an example.
Yeah.
I had, for years, I had to-do lists every day. And they were literally like, I don't know, 1 page long, never achievable.
All right.
Always like led to a feeling of failure in the evening, because of course I could never, no human being could manage to do it, even knowing that next day I did the same, and then the things I didn't manage to do I put on the next day, and then the next day was already like, filled, so on. So that was a very good method to go to bed unhappy.
Yeah.
And when I switched that system to a calendar where I only wrote weekly to-dos, which I have now, I started maybe a year or 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And that made a big difference, because now my days are completely free except for 3 o'clock dentist or something that is really like happening on the day.
Yeah.
And I just look at my weekly to-do list, which is above. It's like a good calendar system that I bought. It's called Week View. And
So that's what I mean with that you have to sort of personalize all the advice to who you are, right? And that's great, actually, because I do, for example, work with a daily schedule. But I think this is one of the first kind of things that I was about to share, like more of a practical thing. But yeah, it's mainly the same with like the to-do list. Like, don't make it that long that it's not possible to actually complete it. And what I, for example, do with my to-do list, I have one of them is always the same one, and it's a morning walk. Every day I have that same one on there. And it's, first of all, and it can be something different, right? But it's something so easy to do that also benefits my life. But it's also already to start checking off something and to get the motion, to get the ball rolling of the day, right? Because once you checked it off, it's like, all right, I can check something off. What's next to check off? But I many times work with.
so routine is like, it's like part.
Yeah, and I think this is maybe one thing that you do, because you talk about 3 hours routine. Like, don't overcomplicate things. And I think
No, my
this.
routines are very small. It just takes me so
Okay.
long because I'm so slow.
All right. Okay. But even still, I still think it's a good thing to know that don't overcomplicate things, because the more complicated something is going to be, the harder it's going to be to do it. And the longer a list is, the harder it's going to be to do it, actually. So it's actually better to make it shorter and then to add things to it once it's done, than to make it so long that you can't complete it, because it's going to be very much demotivating. So I think maybe try to do the opposite of what you think might be productive, which is actually making it shorter. Make your routine shorter, make your to-do list shorter, and actually giving you the possibility to be able to complete it and to actually add things. Because once you're done, and you can add more things to it.
Yeah, that's true, but that suggests that I am totally free with all the floating items that are around me in the world to pick like as many as I want and put on the to-do list. I feel the obligation to like complete a set number of tasks because I've committed to things. So that maybe comes back to the question of how to say no, how to take on less projects than you can handle.
Here's another thing. So if like, well, this is maybe not complex, but basically how my system looks like is I have 3 years, 1 year, 3 months, and 1 day. And 3 years, you could say, is like the big vision that I'm working to. 1 year is basically not really. It's more about the challenges, like things that I want to challenge myself this year in. But it's mainly like the 1 day, the 3 months, and the 3 years that are the most important ones, I would say. But so I guess if you have like a to-do day or even a weekly list, have maybe like 3 months of goals where you want to work towards to in those weeks or in those days.
Mm-hmm. I do. I have that.
Oh, you have that. Okay, right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because that gives you more of a focus and more of a clear purpose for those 3 months to work towards to. So the rest is less important. And so you can filter better out of things that you have to work on. But you do that, you said.
I do have that. Maybe it's still too much. That might be the case. And
right, because every 3 months, I primarily have 3 things of goals that I work on, of big goals, right? That I work on every day. I don't have more than that. Because more is not always better. Many times less is better, or less is more. And it just gives me more time to work on, focus on those 3 big things every day.
Do you have a structured day?
What is that? What do you mean?
Is your day structured? Does it follow like certain routines and set times for things?
Yeah, and like I'm really a fan of not making things too complicated. I don't actually. I just write down, for example, in the evening now, I will write down what I have to do tomorrow, the
Mhm,
things that I have to achieve to get to the 3 months to be able to check those off.
mhm.
And if one is lacking, I would add some more hours to it. But as long as in 3 months I'm able to complete it, because that's like an artificial deadline that I'm setting for myself. Yeah, I can adjust it to how much more I have to put into that.
So you wake up, you have the morning walk,
Yeah, that's what I start with.
and then afterwards, what do you do?
Well, okay, so wait, so I wake up, I mainly just start with meditating like 10 minutes, and then I go out, have a shower, go for a walk, set some coffee, and then I start working.
How long from waking up until you start working, more or less?
An hour.
Oh, so really? And
Right, my morning walk doesn't have to be hours long. It's like 15 minutes. My shower is like 5 minutes. I mean, if I want it longer, it's not exactly 5 minutes, right? It's
yeah, yeah,
just whatever I feel like, kind of. And yeah, and I work with the Pomodoro technique, but I customize this more to myself. I set a 45-minute timer because I feel that I'm getting then really into the flow more. Then I take a break for 15 minutes, work again for 45 minutes, and every 2 hours, then after that, I take a longer break for like 30 minutes or something. And that's just what I do until the end of the day.
do you have a problem with distractions? Are you easily distractible? And what would be something to
I'm,
distract you?
yeah, personally, and this is honestly an advantage, I guess. I'm not easily distracted at all. I'm very much not interested in going on social media and just looking at people. Like, and not like there's something wrong with, but I don't have a problem with that actually, to
Mhm.
discipline myself and just to work. But I think having a timer, to have like a deadline, those 45 minutes is a deadline, right? To focus on that and to know that after that there's a break.
But you put it yourself. I find that amazing because
Yeah.
I put in myself. I tried with reward and punishment, like all those techniques also, and then I just ignore it because it's just me. It's not external.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I, like, wish this maybe not, but well, in this case, I wished I would have had more problem actually with disciplining myself, because I actually don't. I am really good at just sitting down and working.
Mhm.
I really don't have much trouble with that. But you could use tools like Cold Turkey, which is a software that you can install on your computer, and you can literally block out websites on your computer, or programs, and there's no way for you to access them. Uh, and you can set an amount of time, right? Or you can set blocks of time. And it's not like I don't make it harder for myself, right? Like, on my phone, I don't have Facebook as the first thing to push. I have it somewhere on another menu in a map, so it's
Yeah.
not directly there. On my computer, I have Facebook not even anywhere. Like, I have to literally type it into, and I don't have automatically log in. So it's many times also a habit to seek distraction. And I've sort of unlearned myself to go to those distractions by making it more difficult.
Yeah, I have follow-up questions.
And one last thing before you have your follow-up question. If I really think about what makes my zone of focus complete,
Mhm.
it's, I mean, in the morning having some coffee, but that could be literally any drink, like a hot tea or something, but just something. I don't know. It's just nice to have something to drink on. It helps with focus, I guess. But and then having headphones on with the same. I have the same music, the same piano piece that is maybe like 2 minutes long, that is on repeat endlessly.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, but it just puts me into an ultra focus zone. And then having a timer for 45 minutes, I'm just in the zone wherever I am. And so I would say, if the secret ingredients to me to be productive is really those things: a timer of 45 minutes, headphones with music, some warm drink or some drink, and yeah, that's it. And then knowing that there's going to be a break. That's how I get through my days and how I am able to be very productive, I would say.
Have you always been like that?
I've always been
Oh,
good at disciplining myself and
what
putting
would
myself, or not, well, even when I don't always feel like I want to work, right? Some days are going to be like less where I feel motivated. Some days I'm going to feel like more, of course. But I've always been good at just sitting down and doing it anyway. And I can't share anything on that because I really don't know how I'm doing that. It's
yeah, I
just,
wonder like what is driving you, because you are, especially you don't have a boss, you're self-employed.
yeah.
You could just literally not get up from bed, or just go outside, go for an ice cream, meet a friend for a coffee, and not work if
It
you want.
also makes me, if I would just lay in bed, for example, or just watch a movie, it would honestly make me feel unhappy because I don't feel like I'm doing anything. And me, it just makes me feel unhappy. And that is then also a driving force to be like, okay, you got to go and do something now. Um, that's why I can't watch movies the whole day because I just would feel unhappy. And this is why I think when I was texting with you, when I said uh, the purpose of life is, I'm pretty sure it's not about happiness, but more about being useful.
Oh, I found that so interesting, because I have a different view.
Okay, because I was listening to a podcast with, I don't know if you know Ryan Holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, and
from Good Paris also.
yeah, like, and Eric Weinstein. Yeah,
What
yes.
Eric Weinstein known for?
Um, so I basically stumbled upon his podcast because of Joe Rogan. You know Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
And I don't exactly know what he's known for, but I know that he has a podcast. I know he's an extremely smart guy. Friends of him are like Sam Harris, Tim Ferriss, and he has a podcast recently that he brought out. And
It would be lovely to hang out with those guys. That would be
it
one
will
of
be a
my dreams.
dream come true, to be
Yeah.
honest. But anyway, it was those two talking. And Ryan Holiday said exactly what I'm saying now, that the purpose of life is not to be happy, but to be useful. And being useful, or doing something meaningful, right, to society or to the world or to other people, the effect of that is happiness. But to make life as a goal, to make happiness a goal, is many times leads rather to unhappiness. It's very hard to just be happy all the time.
I think it depends on how you define happiness,
Hmm.
because I think commonly it's defined as feeling good.
Yeah.
And for me, happiness is feeling alive. And that
Uh-huh.
entails feeling all the emotions. It sounds a bit absurd, but even if I'm sad, I feel happy, like in a broader
Hmm.
sense, because
Yeah.
I feel alive. And I'm aware that like feeling alive is all the amplitude of feelings.
Hmm.
So I have some friends who I admire sometimes, or who criticize me, who say like you're dramatic, or something, because dramatic.
In which way? Dramatic with the ups
Like
and downs,
it's
or?
dramatic when I'm upset
Okay.
about something, because then it's like so overwhelming and everything is so negative and so strong. And but yeah, so then it goes deep. But at the same time, oh, okay, my
There we
Bluetooth
are.
is
You
shorting.
were waving too much with your hands.
Yeah, I see. It's too dramatic. And but at the same time, I can feel like so enthusiastic and so extremely happy. And the friends who are criticizing me mostly, like from my point of view, their life or their feeling curve is like in the middle, like with low
Mm.
ups and low downs.
Hmm.
So of course they are never super unhappy, or not as unhappy as I am, but they're also never as happy as I am.
Sure.
And I don't know, in the fjords in Norway, I think it's said that the mountain is as high as the fjord is deep.
Mm.
So that's how I feel.
Okay.
And that's what is happiness is about for me, what life is about. And I just want to feel alive.
So enjoying both the ups and downs.
Yeah, and being aware, of course, it's challenging of being aware of that when you have the low.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm quite good in having that in the back of my mind. Of course, it doesn't feel good,
Mm-hmm.
but I much rather prefer it to being like nearly dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel I can resonate more with the feeling of feeling like I'm useful, or I mean, useful is maybe not, can sound maybe like as a wrong word, but more feeling, yeah, like doing something that you feel like is meaningful. That's where I primarily draw, I feel happiness from, because it feels like meaningful, right? And so that's why I also feel when I'm just watching movies the whole day long,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I can't, like, I can totally go to Netflix for an hour and watch something. But if I would just primarily do that, I would literally start feeling unhappy because I feel like I'm not being useful to the world. And maybe this is just also personality, like something, different in people. Wait, but we're like, okay, productivity. I'm trying to connect
And
it.
I saw you're arguing it's like when you are useful that makes you happy, but I would also argue that when you're your true happy loving self, then you will automatically be useful to the world.
I get, maybe.
And
Yeah.
I would also argue, and that doesn't mean like being happy is not feeling
This,
content, like
right.
being in bed watching Netflix movies. That is not happiness.
Mhm.
Then when you're doing that all day long, all your life, I would assume you're not so happy.
I would say so, yes, too. Yeah.
I think a human, but that's also how you view human beings
Mm-hmm.
per se. I think human beings want to be productive. They want to contribute
Yep.
to the society. That's also why I'm pro. How is it called in English? In German, it's bedingungsloses Grundeinkommen. It's like
Oh.
if you give money to people
Uh-huh.
just for being a human person,
Uh-huh.
and not as social welfare or not because of the job they do, but
Okay.
have like a basic salary, basic income, of like maybe it's debated now, €1,000 or 1,500 or
Yeah.
whatever some you want to say. And then some argument against it is then people will get lazy.
Mm-hmm.
What incentive is there to move your ass?
Yeah, it's
And
true.
I think people, if they have like the freedom, they will use it for something good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think this is like a scenario where you would have both cases, and I think it's more about a personality. Like some people would just become more lazy, others will become more productive because of that opportunity.
Yeah, and even if some people want to be in the hammock all day long, for me that's fine. That doesn't keep
True.
me from, because my drive, it comes from inside.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's with everything, right? If there's no inside drive, then yeah, you will not do anything in the end. So maybe I don't know, with the productivity thing, is there also sometimes, because this is what I would say is my drive, the feeling of wanting to be more useful to the world. Maybe there's something of a drive that is also missing.
in Bali, there was a lecture or like a presentation about the why, like
Yep. So
why.
Simon Sinek.
No, I've heard his name, but I don't know. And the woman who presented it, she was, I think she was mentioning his name, and
Yeah.
like it's good to find out your drive behind your actions or your purpose. It's not the purpose, not to be confused with the purpose. I think it's like more the motivator, the driver.
Yeah, but that's the why.
Yeah, that's the why. So your why is the usefulness. Is it from Simon Sinek?
It's not from him. It's just an internal feeling. Like I really like to feel like I'm being useful actually to people. It just makes me literally happy. And it's always been something when I was a child, when I was seeing things on the news, people being, hit by an earthquake or whatever. Like I would always be telling my mom, I wish I was there to help them. It's
Hmm.
just always been something that I really feel driven to do that. And so I don't know why exactly. It's just, it's just, yeah, I really don't know how to explain it actually, but it is what drives me to feel like I am of help to people. And if that actually gets away, I do literally feel unhappy because I feel like I have no purpose then.
But I could hardly imagine a scenario where it's going away, right? Because there's always people who need help.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no.
It's a useful driver.
Yeah,
That
and
gets you out of bed
I'll
in the mornings and gets you disciplined. I like to work. Yeah.
it's one of the reasons, right? It's not the sole reason alone. It's just one of the reasons that helps me. Um, but Simon Sinek is he wrote, or no, he does. Wait, was it a book or maybe it's both actually? But he did a TED talk about, or a TEDx talk actually, about start with why. But I think he might actually have written a book about it too. But he's definitely the guy I would say who started more the thing of starting with why. And I guess I don't know if it's maybe useful for you, but it's definitely an interesting TED talk to
Mhm.
watch. Um,
I want to look
but
into that. But we also, when we had our telephone call or the last talk,
Mhm.
I don't know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when you were still in Bali?
Oh,
No.
oh yeah. Good times.
And stuck in Bali, yeah.
Mm.
About the book Digital Minimalism from Cal Newport that I'm about to buy and read. I don't know, did you
Did not.
buy it yet? No, not yet.
Good
It,
thing that you're mentioning that again. Can you tell like everyone who's listening actually what that book is about again?
so Cal Newport, who is also known for his book called Deep Work, he
Yeah,
wrote a new book that's called Digital Minimalism.
minimalism.
And
Yeah.
yeah, basically about what it means, what it says in the title, that you use your smartphone less and spend less time on the internet.
Mhm.
But he says there are enough hacks out there how to get away from that. So it's not a book about
It's
like
true.
don't put your phone next to your bed or just do fasting once a week. And he says what the world needs now is a philosophy
Mm.
to digital minimalism, like a philosophy to using, to not letting devices rule your life. Because that way, if you have like an internal belief system, you're better prepared to face the future where there will be much more distractions through media than in the past.
Well, it could actually be a really good book for me as well, right? But for you, because I think there could be actually some answers on the whole
I think
productivity side as well.
yes, definitely. Because I feel I go into a black hole
Yeah,
and 2 hours later I immerse. And that's where my time goes also. And it's also not contributing to my happiness, neither to productivity, neither to,
it's making you
yeah,
frustrated.
yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
but you told me on the phone call that you were thinking about fasting from your computer once a
Sure.
week or something. Did you do that?
Yes. I actually am, or I actually do that. So it's every week, one day where I just get off my computer, get off any kind of technology device, and I've actually been doing that since then. And I mean, I love it. You, well, you just draw inspiration, ideas, and possibilities. Uh, from different sources, right? And most of the time I draw it from my computer because I mainly am working on it.
Yeah.
And actually giving myself that opportunity to draw it from different things has been pretty insightful actually, and just very fun. And so for me, that day is more about family time, time for friends, time to do some more things with, like piano or like things, just exploring more different things. So so far every day or every week, one day, try to take that day as an opportunity actually for those things, and it's been great. I really like it actually. Yeah.
How is it like? How does it look like practically? Like, do you lock your computer into a safe and give it
Yeah.
to your mother or something?
And, and this is again the same with the discipline thing, that I don't have trouble actually with that. But if you like, I just close my laptop that day, and I just don't touch it.
What about your cell phone?
Oh, my cell phone, like, okay, this is actually also the thing. When I'm working, I don't have my cell phone in the same room. I put it in another room. And when I do it that day, I actually put it into how do you call it? A drawer? No, not a drawer. Like, I put it in a shelf somewhere, and I just close it. It's just more that I don't see it. And
Fascinating.
sorry.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but of course you could, if you have trouble, you can like you said, you can give your laptop to someone. You can lock the shelf, for example, if you can lock it. So there's things like that you can do. But it's
Definitely.
more for me to just be able to not see it, and that helps actually for me.
How how timely is your work, or like, I don't know, how reachable do you have to be for your work? Because in my case, my clients, it's always on very short note, not always, but often on very short notice, and
Mm.
it's there are many photographers out there, so they call me and they want to ask if I want to work for them. And if I don't pick up the phone, and if I don't call back within the next 30 minutes,
Mm.
then they already call the next photographer. So
Yeah.
that is, I could say that, well, it's their fault, it's their loss. But at the same time, it gives me a bit of anxiety, and it
Yeah.
makes me feel that I should be reachable nonstop.
Okay, here we both are. Yeah, I don't have that. Most of the time people send an email to me, so it's not like I can reply another day, for example. But sure, I can get that it's more difficult in that situation. There are things that you can do, right? You can get an assistant, for example, or I think there is even a website where you can install like a sort of AI assistant. And that could be something, but then it's not like it has to be completely like no technology at all. If there is some kind of emergency or something, you could, for example, just have a work phone. You
I
could do
do
that.
have that. I actually
Okay,
did that. I separated. I have a private phone and I have a work phone. And that's already good because I don't want to be reachable 24/7. So I
great.
leave the work phone at home when I go out with friends at night, for example.
Yeah, and then you
I
can
have
also.
lost jobs through because of that, but I'm
Hmm,
happy to sacrifice that because
yeah,
can't have it all.
that's true. And then I guess you can also pick out a date in or a day in the week that you are less possibly to be contacted. You can look at that a little bit and then just put that day as a
That's,
non-technology day, right?
or even the weekend.
But exactly, right? For me, I don't really have a weekend, or I don't like, for me, it's not like weekend is where I don't do anything. It's this one day where I don't do anything. That's sort of, I can, yeah, I put it in the weekends. Um, but if I could work all the time, I would work all the time because I just like it a lot. But I am putting this day on the weekend actually. But so exactly, you could put it into the weekend. Exactly. Yeah. So I want to move. First of all, because you had some follow up questions. I don't know if you want to
I
mention.
already asked them.
Oh, you
Thanks.
did.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if we actually, or if you feel like you gained anything on the question that you asked. If you feel like you gained something on that,
I did.
you did. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. And like I said, it's really about, or what I would say,
I just gained that you're a superhuman and it's not possible to be like you.
Exactly. That's it. But it's about customizing it to your life, and you can customize it by taking advice from multiple people that you think are qualified, in productivity.
I since like a week ago, I'm trying something new, which is it sounds a bit nerdy, but I
Oh,
sit down
please.
and I have like a minute protocol of what I do in the morning until I go to my office, because from the moment that I wake up to the moment that I reach my office, it's like 5 hours more or less.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm so surprised that you only take 1 hour to get to your desk. And but I
It's
know,
again not about comparing. Like this works for me, right? That's
yeah, I know. But I feel like I'm like a turtle. I'm so slow, and I
sure.
cannot explain to myself why on earth, like what is happening in those 5 hours. So I want to find out like now,
Mm,
and that's why I'm protocoling. And I don't need to have like 2 months of protocol, but I think
sure.
like 7 days of data is already enough to see where the time goes,
Hmm.
and then maybe
Mm.
then structure it and batch it and see where what is consuming also my attention.
Have you already done that for a week, or you just
I've
started?
done it for 4 days, and
What are your findings, if you can have, or if you have any?
yeah, it's fascinating because the thing well, to myself, it's so
Of course.
to the others probably is boring. um,
No, it.
no, I find it, I say, yeah, okay, it confirms what I was guessing, but I wasn't aware of it. It's
Uh-huh.
a the things that I need to do are like my routines, which is now meditating for 10 minutes, doing my back exercise for my for my back, takes 15 minutes, and making my protein shake or something takes another 5 minutes, um, and then maybe bathroom, I don't know, 20
Hmm.
minutes. It's not so much, that doesn't sum up to 5 hours. So what's all the rest? And
Mm.
that is basically being in on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm not, my problem is not so much social media. I'm also on social media, but also professionally. So I need to be on there.
Hmm.
But most of the time I'm reading news, or I'm getting lost in the internet, like research, like
Yeah.
reading something in an article, then looking it up. What is pronoia? Then finding a link to a YouTube video, then finding out about a person that Tim Ferriss likes, thinking like, who is she? I have to stalk her.
Hmm.
So I think if I got a rule for myself that I'm not allowed to use the internet in the morning, I
Mm.
would
The main
I would
question that
say
you
four
also
hours.
the main question that you also got to ask yourself is that, do you feel like this is a problem?
Yeah, it's making me unhappy.
Okay,
Yeah.
then yes. Yeah. Then you can make some kind of structure where the morning you're not, I mean, allowed is maybe not, but like that you shouldn't go on social media and all that stuff. Because in general, when you look at the average where people spend the most of their time, um, after going to work and all that, it is on social media. Actually, it is on that. Um, and if it is making you unhappy, then there's definitely things that you can do on lowering that and leaving that for in the evening, for example, or when you're done working.
Yeah, or have like a specific purpose when I go to the internet and watching myself getting, I don't know if that probably is like telling a alcohol addict like just have one beer.
Mm. No,
uh,
but sure,
because I also like to inform myself in the morning about the news.
sure. It's also a nice ways, with some kind of education and entertainment to sort of wake up and that's why I said maybe it's not a problem but
That's true. That's true. Yeah, just not to the extent. So like everything more in moderation maybe. And I
yeah,
also feel that I'm losing, like I forget what I need to do.
sure.
And then I feel like super foggy, distracted. And then I go back to my computer. It's like kind of my base. And I sit down,
Hmm.
I immerse in the whole Then 1 hour later I come out, and then I remember, I need to do this, and then I continue my day. But without going to the computer, I feel I cannot think either.
It's very much a habit, actually, to going to social media in the morning.
Yeah.
It's very much a habit, right? And so it's about breaking that habit. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. No, but I think with me, like I asked you this broad question, how about structure, focus, productivity, which is like an endless topic. But actually, I think with me, in this talk also, I found out that I think it's more about the distractions and trying to limit them.
Yep.
Because once I'm not distracted, I have a lot of motivation and things that I have to do, and I have my goals, and it's not about not knowing what I can do.
And one thing that I also definitely want to put out is that, and this is why I do my most productive work, or the most, the work where I need the most brain power. I do that in the morning. I do that as the first things. And this is why I also don't go on social media in the morning or in that time, or try to get my thoughts mixed up with other things. It's you will have better quality of work if you do the most hardest work in the morning without having any clutter of other thoughts or any other things to worry about that you will get when you go on social media.
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting thought that also crossed my mind, and that's what people usually say, that the morning's your most productive, but it depends on what chronotype you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another book on my list that I want to read. It's about
Chronotype.
No, it's called Energy Competence.
No. What is chronotype?
Oh, chronotype is that if you're like, it basically said, if you're a night owl or if you're a lark. If you're like a morning person or a night person, but there's more types.
Okay.
And I'm definitely a night person.
I
Me love to work in the quiet of the night when I feel I'm like in my bubble. That's when I think that's a little bit like what you described with having your headphones on and having the same music on repeat and being super focused. At night I am like that. So then I'm sharp and alone, and I love this feeling.
Right, but either way, there's no question that your brain uses or loses focus the longer time passes. In the morning, your brain is going to be more fresh than in the evening, even if you are a night owl. I'm 100% a night owl. I get more creative in the evening, but I wouldn't per se say that I do the most productive work either.
Well, I nearly never did any productive work in the morning, but I'm still fighting it. That's what I think was my struggle, that I all the time think something's wrong and I should get to that rhythm. But whatever I really accomplished or achieved was from 5 o'clock in the evening until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
And then my discipline kicks in, and then I really sit down, and the later it gets, like now, the older I get, the tired I get, and the less I'm willing to sacrifice my sleep. When I was younger, I just didn't care, and then just kept on working. So now I have to readapt and find a new way, because right now at I don't know, 11 o'clock or midnight, I sit in my office, everything is quiet, but I'm annoyed.
Well, you've been reading the book Why We Sleep, right?
Yeah, your recommendation. And I made it a habit to listening to it every morning when I do my back exercise, because I'm listening to it as an audiobook. And so every morning I'm consuming 15 minutes, which is also good quantity because it's quite dense and to process it. And right now I'm maybe 2/3 through the book.
Okay. 2/3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I must say, since I'm listening to it, I have prioritized my sleep.
Yeah. I mean, you can summarize the book quite, in just in a few words, right? That sleep is super important.
Super important. Yeah.
Yeah. But we all heard that before. The thing is that what this book does is actually show you really in depth how extremely important it is, that it actually feels much more, real, or much more like, okay, I should take this actually serious.
And I feel that everyone, to get this message, has to read the book or
Yes.
listen to it, because it's not enough that your mother tells you or that we tell them that
Yeah.
sleep is important, because they have heard it before. Just when you really listen to it, I mean, it shocks you, and it has a profound effect.
And that's exactly what I mean. And yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. The book will shock you actually and make you take sleep way more serious, because it's really the cure to endless amounts of
Anything,
things.
really. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, almost anything. That's true.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. So let's see. I can I can share, if you want, one thing out of my list, and I think to make this not into a 4-hour call.
Yeah, I
Not
was thinking the same.
not like I wouldn't want to, but I think it's getting late, and it could be great for another one. But so I could share one last one out of my list that I had of a question to you.
Yes,
But
pleasure.
before I do that, I actually have to go to the toilets really quickly.
How do we do that technically?
Don't worry, I can cut it out. It's just like a little. No one will notice. So if you need something else, or it could be a small break.
Then I
But
will use it as a break too. I will just
great.
shut off my video now.
Okay. It's crazy how, and I really like. So the first episode that I did was with Philip
Mhm.
and with Marvin. So it's a person that you don't know, but two great friends of mine, and it was super funny, or it was super interesting, fun, whatever. But it's crazy how fast 3 hours pass by just doing this, and I like it. It's great.
All right, it's already 2.5 hours, right?
I think so. I mean, it was 7:30. It's now. Yeah. So it's yeah.
Ten
It's now
o'clock
10.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me uh, ask you one of the things here that I had on my lists, and it's more of a question to you, but something that I'm truly curious about, actually. Um, so, what is the skill that you have learned over the years that has truly changed your life? Why, and also, like, why has it changed your life, and how did you learn that skill? But you can go to the first part first.
First, I have to think of a skill. Like a skill, the skill would be like a language or
Well, I mean,
technique or
yeah, or something that you learned in your life that really has been life changing to you.
maybe nothing.
What do you mean?
What if I haven't learned anything since high school?
Okay, I can, if you want, I can share mine
Yeah.
that I thought about, and it might help you to understand better what I asked.
Hmm.
Okay, so if I would generally think about everything, over the last years, that I feel like really has been life changing, and there's multiple ones, right? But just if I would pick out one or two, it would actually be the skill to not take anything personal,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? I think, honestly, because it happens so many times that people react.
I know one now. Okay, but first I want to listen. Yes.
There you go, right? But it so often happens that people react in a bad way, don't smile back at you, or the smallest things, right? That are so easily being, that we pick up as personal, like, oh, I did something wrong to that person, or it's me that they didn't smile, or just as an easy example, right? But uh, and I think partly what also comes together with that is actually understanding human psychology better, understanding humans, how they work better. And that was actually the second thing that I could think of, but they really come together, to be honest. um and understanding that, if you have, for example, hate, if you have hate in you, you will also spread out hate to the world. If you have love in you, you will also spread that out in the world. And this is super true. And knowing that and realizing that really helps for me to not take things personal when someone does something or says something negative to me, because it's something that they're dealing with inside them. And that's, to be honest, because I really easily tend to take things personal.
Which
And
doesn't mean that there isn't a relevant feedback for you maybe in it, right? Because it's like
yeah,
you're also not perfect, and maybe people can criticize something that can be taken into consideration from your part.
sure. I mean, I love feedback, even if it's hurtful. But if someone just says you suck, that's not feedback, because there's nothing in there that you can take as feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that just comes out of a place where they're struggling with themselves, I would say, if they just spread out something like that. But if it actually would be a constructive list of things of why you suck, that would be something that I would be like, all right, I can get or use this. But if it's just, and most of the time people just say something bad, like, oh, you're a bad person, or you suck, or you're weird, that's, yeah, just coming out of a place within themselves that they're struggling with. And it's really helpful to understand that, to not take things personal. And so that's what I would share. That has been a skill that I'm still getting better at, but I'm definitely way better at than in the past. That has been really helpful for me. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on that, or if because you said that you had something now.
Yeah, but I
Please
also have
share.
a thought on yours, because just today when I listened to my 15 minutes of the book Why We Sleep,
Okay.
was that topic that they sleep deprived one part of the participants,
Mm-hmm.
and they significantly judged people's facial
Yeah.
expressions more negative
Mm.
than when they had enough sleep,
Yeah.
which is also
Super interesting.
worrying.
I know, and I also know that he talked about, so like Matthew Walker, the guy who wrote the book, like, you know, people who are in a position like police officers, or people like in the army, or doctors, they have to make, or especially like police officers, and, you know, people who have to deal with like conflicts. If they are deprived of sleep, that could really cause trouble that is not necessary if they would have actually had the right amount of sleep, and when they would have been able to really read the expression on that person better.
Yeah.
Because it's easily to mix anger with fear, for example, you know, the expression of that. And if you're sleep deprived, it can easily happen that you do that.
Yeah, recently on Tim Ferriss' blog, I heard that he also didn't say it himself. He also quoted a woman, I think, I don't remember her name.
Uh-huh.
And she said, anger is fear shown in public.
Yeah, sure.
And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it doesn't apply 100% of the cases, but I think often anger that is shown in public is there's a fear behind it, that it cannot be, it's not socially acceptable to show, so you show anger. Especially through men, probably, but also women.
Yeah, I mean, you can of course never say like 100% in a way, but I would say most of the time that definitely is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So
Tell
one
me.
skill that has definitely transformed my life is the capacity to be happy and to perceive my happiness in the moment that I feel it, or that I am happy. I noticed at one point in my life, maybe, but already I would say 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
that people always talk about happiness in the past. It's like,
Mm.
oh, you remember that holiday? Oh, it was so nice. We were so happy. And then wish maybe to be able to travel time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's so unpractical. It would be so cool if during that, if that while you are on that holiday, you feel that all that enormous happiness that there is, hopefully, that you feel years later. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So I tried to train myself to perceive it in the moment, and I think I succeeded quite well. And I often have those moments during my day, not every day, of course. And it's also, and now more in the sense of really like feeling like super fulfilled, feeling it in my whole body, and just asking myself this question often per week. Am I happy?
Mm-hmm.
And then surprisingly often the answer is yes. Yes, I don't want to be with anyone else. Like, for example, now, I don't want to talk to anyone else. I don't want to be in any place else, you know? I
Mm-hmm.
just want to have this conversation with you, and I'm so fulfilled and so happy.
Mm. Okay, so a few things that I'm really happy that you said, like, for me the same. Wouldn't be anywhere else here but to talk to you, so it's really nice. A few things that I had is, how have you been able um, to learn that skill? Or what do you do to practice that? Or how did you get better at it?
So first, I think I perceived like the problem or something that I found annoying, which was like, why do
Right.
you talk about it in the
So that's
past?
the drive.
Yeah, that was the drive, and then I thought about solutions and
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, making it bigger now than it really is, right? Because it was just this simple thing, but that was life transforming. And then, yeah, and then making it a habit of asking myself this question. And then, of course, it's a positive reinforcement because I have so many um, Erfolgsmomente, success moments.
Success moments, you said?
Is it that in English?
Um, is there another word that you can put on it? Yeah.
Because it works so well. Like, then I
Okay.
tried it and it worked so well, and that
Okay.
reinforced it. Yeah.
Okay. Success moments. I get it. Then. Yeah.
Um, but I think it already builds on something that's inside me that's really stable. So it's like a stable,
Mm-hmm.
maybe feeling that I'm generally will be taken care of. That I'm able that I will encounter many unsettling situations, but that I have a trust in myself that I will be able to figure it out, even maybe not
Okay.
in the first moment, and that I have a support system.
Mm.
So I'm also aware that I'm in a super, super, super privileged position to already from like a high level jump to this next level of being happy. And I think I didn't notice that so much in the past, and I judged people. In my family, we also have cases of depression, and from a person standpoint like me, who I don't struggle with depression, I couldn't understand it. And often I thought, yeah, like the stupid things that people say, like think positive and just pull yourself together, and like, just why don't you see your happiness, you're so fortunate, blah blah blah. But that doesn't help the person who's depressed at all. I see that now.
Yeah.
So I also don't see it so much as an achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because the basis for me to have this enormous capacity of being happy and perceiving it in the moment, I think comes from something that I have absolutely no stakes in.
Mm-hmm. So is it mainly like taking, like, when you remind yourself, is it like taking things not for granted?
Yeah, I'm very grateful. Often I'm like aware of my luck
Mm-hmm.
also, and quite actively so also.
Yeah.
It's not only when we talk about it now, but it's it's something that's present with me through my life.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah. So I actually this was the last interview that I did on the IPS podcast. It was with Rick Hansen, and he's like a leading expert on uh goddamn on positive neuroscience. Sorry. So on positive neuroscience, right?
Yeah, I listened to it today.
Oh, you did.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Well, but basically, yes, you can hardwire your brain to be more attuned to happiness instead of to negativity.
It's
And
also about what you choose to perceive or what you train yourself to perceive. And the more
yes,
you perceive your happiness, or you have things around you that are reason to be happy, the more you notice them.
right. And it's literally, you can just literally give an example as going out to the gym to work out. to gain muscles, you have to go daily. You have to maintain it to get those muscles. If you want to be more positive or more happy in life, you have to daily do practices in your brain, in your mind, to get more, to train that happiness. And then after a while, it becomes easier to do that, of course, and it becomes more of a natural thing.
Yeah.
But it's super interesting that you can literally create different synapses and pathways in your brain to more rapidly attune to happiness instead of negativity. And yeah, that was a great episode, I think, where you got into that.
Just to be clear, often the answer is no, I'm not happy, right? It's not that I'm asking myself and that by asking it makes me more happy per se. It's just that by asking it, I notice it when it's there. But I also notice when it's not there. But then I can think of solutions, what I could do. Or maybe I'm training myself also now in acceptance.
Sure.
It's not important to be happy in every moment, right? Then just
right.
Be like, okay, maybe it's like we talked about with the list before, when there's like some problem or some struggle, to see it more as, yeah, okay, so now it's the uncomfortable part, but it will lead to greater happiness, also what Rick Hansen said.
I guess acceptance is actually, a thing there. And then, accepting is the first part, and then putting up solutions there to do something about it. To not just sit with it, but to do something, and to know that you have power to do something as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you did a good job in interviewing Rick Hansen. I enjoyed the podcast.
Thank you. Well, yeah. Was there anything else out of the podcast interview that you felt like, or that you can think of right now, that you found interesting?
I would have to think more about it. Like,
No.
I'm sure there are. But
of course,
I don't have it in the front of my mind right now.
Makes sense. So that was actually the question.
He had also sitting with Tim Ferriss afterwards.
Sorry, what?
Afterwards, I tried to find out if you also had a sitting with Tim Ferriss.
Not yet, but it will come. So that was the question, or one of. I have more, but I think it could be better to actually ask that on another time, because I think we have filled this already with quite a lot of hours, which was great. I really loved it. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to put out, or is there any other questions or anything else? You can, of course, share that.
I enjoyed talking to you. It feels like I'm divided between like enjoying it extremely and feeling like that it's like cheesy stuff that's coming.
Cheesy stuff. All right. Wait, can you define what how do you mean that?
No, but like we agree on this like bullet list about like, in every problem there's a chance for growth, and I'm so good in happiness and I'm so grateful, and that's like all the that I don't know, is it human?
Okay.
It's like so textbook, like like what like the I don't even have a word for that community, spiritual community is aspiring to, or something.
You mean like
personality development people, and it's like, we are so wise and then putting out our love for the world, but we know so little. Like, I can't speak for you, but I'm just in the beginning and trying to figure out life.
But it's not like you know nothing either, and I think that's something that you have to tell yourself more as well. Because me personally, I definitely don't know it. Like, no one knows everything, right? That's for you, for me, for everyone. But it's not like you know nothing either, and it's not like I know nothing either. And I think that's a good thing to remember as well, because you certainly have many incredible insights that just here in this talk, were there, and throughout your whole life were already there as well.
I don't know if I don't know if that I feel that way, but certainly
I know
talking to you or to other people, I get more clarity, because I feel like I have a lot of things inside me, but they're just not in order. They're very unstructured. So,
But you definitely do. You definitely do.
You're
And I
very
think
jealous.
I think it's also good, the things that we talked about. It's a little bit about the episode of Rick Hansen, like reminding yourself of like the things, those like Kevin Kelly and like things that you already know. It just helps to build the muscle in your brain more.
Something funny happened while I listened to your episode with Rick Hansen. I did the
I'm
meditation
curious.
exercise,
In the apps, yeah.
Yeah, there was a meditation exercise, and it was like breathe into your left side, breathe into your right side, and now breathe like
Right.
fully, and now just concentrate on your breath. And then he made a pause, so you could really like get the exercise in and pause. Yeah, I breathed, and I did it, and I felt into my body, and it extended and extended, and I felt, wow, it's like courageous to take such a long pause on a podcast, and I really hold that space. And when it was 10 minutes, I opened my eyes and I saw that the program had crashed.
Okay. Wow, yeah, because I was like, it wasn't 10 minutes. That was.
And then I re-listened and I saw that his pause was maybe 15 seconds.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Wow, you were sticking to it.
But I was sticking with it for 10 minutes until I started to question it.
I know, like sometimes with like Headspace, like the app that I used to meditate, it uses like internet to download the episode, right? And it happened like once that it wasn't downloading it, or that the internet like cut off in the middle of a meditation session. And I was like, this is way past 10 minutes now. What the hell? And then I was like, oh, okay, the internet's gone, right? Can happen, right? But at least you have some good effects of it. But anyway,
I was benefit out of it. I had a 10-minute wonderful breathing exercise.
There you go. But anyway, really, really appreciate this talk. Really liked to have this chat with you. Let's catch up in another, in some other weeks about everything else.
We will. I'm confident.
Me too. All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Ciao.
Bye. Thank you so much.